Alright, so this is, I guess, a recruitment video for any of you who have heard about AP European History from your friends, or saw it on a course selection sheet, or never even knew the class was offered at Howell. If you are considering taking it, I hope that I can help you with your decision in the next few minutes. This class is taught by DWeb, and she is one of the most dedicated teachers that you're going to find here. She loves European history. She loves teaching the class. She loves the content. And she really works so incredibly hard at making this class really incredible. And she does a fantastic job of it. So first off, what are you going to be doing during this class? You're basically going to be watching the map of Europe transform. So you're tracing the rise and falls of different empires and their iconic leaders. You're seeing how treaties and wars change the landscape of the continent and how these borders are shifted over time, and how different countries are absolved into other countries. So not only are you going to be tracing the acts and treaties and all of that, but you're just going to be tracing how this landscape is ever changing. It is always moving, which is just like a pretty incredible journey to just sort of undertake. So starting with the antiquities, this was probably what I was most excited to learn about when I first started taking the class. This is a study of classic Greek culture and philosophy. It is really the bedrock of European culture, which is so incredibly rich. You start with pre-Socratic thinkers such as Thales, Anaximenes, I'm butchering these names, and then you go into Socratic thinkers such as Plato, Socrates, Aristotle, and you get to see how what they said and what they wrote completely shaped the worldview for centuries, and how their words and their thoughts traveled miles across this continent and completely shaped how people thought for centuries. So that's really the backbone of European culture and philosophy is the antiquities. And then you move into the Reformation and the Renaissance. The Renaissance, you get to learn about not only just like the different like political aspects of the Italian states at the time, but you get to learn like what makes a Renaissance painting a Renaissance painting. You get to learn about Michelangelo, Raphael, Da Vinci, why the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were named after them, and you really get to lend your mind to uh, the time period, which is really incredible because it's a perspective that is from a completely different time, a completely different atmosphere, a different location, and you really get to understand how really influential it was to break from the Catholic Church, which had been so seen as so concrete and so immutable for so long, and people were starting to question their role in society and their role in relation to God, and that is definitely both in the Reformation and the Renaissance. Um, so onto crazy people and wars. Um, Probably like the best part of this course is uh, just the interesting characters you meet. You have Henry VIII. He had 6 wives, and he basically ignited what's was known as the Counter Reformation, and it was started with the Act of Supremacy, and it was the first time that a government really divided the line between separation of church and state. So this is pretty groundbreaking breaking for the time. And when you look at it like that, objectively, you're like, wow, uh, that's pretty incredible. But you look at the reason why he did it, he basically just threw like a temper tantrum against the Pope at the time and threw him in jail and was like, okay, we're not going to listen to you anymore. So it's really interesting to have that perspective and to have that sort of uh, humor that goes into it. The War of Three Henries is probably the most ridiculous war you're going to listen about. You have Henry the First, Henry the Fourth, and Henry of Var. Uh, Henry the First people send an assassin to Henry the Fourth and kill him, and then Henry the Fourth's people send an assassin to Henry the First and then kill him. And Henry of Navarre wins the throne of France by default, which is kind of insane. and, but it's just sort of like small things like this that really make you think, just make you kind of appreciate how objectively how ridiculous history is at times. On to the scientific revolution. It was really amazing to me to learn about like how what we're learning in chemistry or astronomy or physics, you really get to learn about the historical context behind that and who were these thinkers that led us to the way that we think today. And you get to learn about the major stepping stones for how we understand the world today and how that's impacted society and government during the time. Onto the Enlightenment. The Enlightenment is it's truly incredible because it is what um, I think is most prevalent in our worldview today because the Enlightenment ideals um, completely impacted how people thought about government, society, and humans in the 18th century. And in class, you actually get to do a salon discussing philosophy and the Enlightenment ideas. Dewey brings in some like coffee and hot chocolate and baked goods, and you just get to discuss philosophy with you for the day, and it's a lot of fun. So, the French Revolution and Napoleon. This is it's probably the funnest week of the year. Is the week-long French Revolution simulation. Dewey basically pins you against your classmates, and you have to make a bunch of backdoor deals with people and to try to survive, and anyone can be guillotined at any moment, and it's just kind of like a whirlwind because you're actually excited to go into like a class for the day, and you're sort of like, oh, who's gonna die today? And it's kind of morbid, but it's a lot of fun. And then you get into the Napoleonic era, who is just like he is just one of the most interesting people to learn about, just hands down. Not even in European, not even just in European history. Um, he like completely changed the landscape of Europe, and he was actually like deathly afraid of cats. He was morbidly afraid of cats. They terrified him to no end. So there's just like a lot of different historical tidbits that you get to learn about in AP European history, and it's just like to me, it's just one of the most fun things that you can possibly learn about. And DWeb definitely makes it fun. If you've noticed, there's been a lot of like memes, and she loves putting memes on all of her tests and putting them anywhere she can in all of her lectures. She makes the class really interesting and really fun and really captivating. As if the history doesn't already do that already, she makes it even better. She emphasizes it even more. Um, so you are also studying World War I and World War II. You get to learn European perspective on the world wars, and you really get to learn about the context and the centuries of tension leading up to them, which you don't really get that perspective in APUSH if you took it, and you don't really get that perspective in many other places. So it's really incredible to just sort of learn about not only like the acts, not only the wars, but the motives behind each country and the centuries of context that it takes to get a continent to that sort of point of world war. It even leads up to present day. AP European History, I think the AP test goes up to 2010, but this is probably, I think, the most rewarding part of the entire class because you get just the centuries of context to what you see in the news today, which is really incredible because it lends you to a much greater understanding of what's going on and a much greater understanding of where the world could be heading. And you really just get to um, understand why we are where we are today and how we can move forward in a more positive way and learning from history in that sort of way. But all in all, AP European History, European history is it is rich with culture and philosophy, and not only the history, not only like the historical tidbits, but it is, I think, one of the best things that you can learn overall just in your life, and it's one of the most fun things you can learn. And AP European History, you can get college credit for it, and just taking the class in general is an opportunity that I would not pass up in a lifetime. So